All right, so this is the analysis of Dune. I don't know how I'm gonna do these videos because they're gonna be like low effort because I just kind of want to talk about the stuff I have, and I fully expect no one to watch these, to be honest. But um, it would just be a nice way for me to get all this stuff out that I want to talk about. But so this is very spoiler heavy. I'm just gonna go through the entire plot and then kind of break it down a little bit. But so basically, Paul wakes up. He's been having these dreams about a girl in the desert, and then his family is then told they are going to take over the spice operations on the planet Arrakis, and they're taking over from their blood, like their family, like blood feud enemies, mortal enemies, the Harkonnens. Um, they get to Arrakis. Harkonnens literally broke every piece of equipment before they left. Um, and like a couple nights in, there's a literal coup, or not coup, coup's not the right word. There's like a siege, and the Emperor's in on it too. The Emperor was scared about the popularity of the Atreides family, so him and the Harkonnens teamed up to wipe out the entire like royal house. Um, it mostly succeeds. Paul and his mom, though, they narrowly escape, and they flee into the desert to get help from the natives, who are considered only savages. But the old Duke, he was trying to repair the relations between the outside world and them, so that they could harvest spice more freely without being like risk being attacked by them. And the talks were going pretty well until he died. So Paul and his mom kind of go into the desert, and then they end up being found by those Fremen. And Paul fights one of them because one of the Fremen just like hates Paul and his mom for seemingly no reason, and Paul does end up killing him. And it's kind of described in there just how good Paul's royal training was, because the tribe leader Stilgar, he was commenting on how he was asking Paul's mom, he's like, "Oh, is he just like playing with him, or like what's going on here? This is kind of rude." And then Paul eventually beats him, and then they become part of the tribe. They kind of just stay there for 2 years, enough time that Paul has his own kid, which he names after his dad. So he has Leto. This was cut out from the movie. I don't know why they just cut out the 2 year age gap because like age jump in the time jump in the movie, because Paul's sister was supposed to be born. I guess that would have been the really freaky part of the movie. Paul's sister was supposed to be like a walking, talking toddler. That was probably like one of the weirdest parts of Dune. But no, Paul has a son, Leto, and they go through, and Paul, so Paul's mom becomes a reverend mother. She takes like this like concentrated spice water that they harvest from drowned sandworms, and as a reverend mother, you can see the only women can do it. No man has ever done it, but the reverend mothers, they can see and relive the memories of their entire maternal line of their family. And so, in a way, they're like a lot more than one person. They have a lot of knowledge and personalities. And I don't specifically remember the catalyst for it, but eventually Paul takes this water of life, and he survives because he was quite literally trained for it. Because Jessica is part of a group of space witch nuns who were trying to genetically breed the perfect human being. And this human being would become a male reverend mother, would bridge the gap of like time and space, and could basically like propel humanity forward several like hundred or even thousand years. Um, Jessica was supposed to give birth to a daughter. Jessica was very, very close to the end of that program. She was supposed to give birth to a daughter, and her daughter, combined with Harkonnen genes, would give birth to this chosen one. But Jessica refused out of love for the Duke Leto and chose to give birth to a boy. So it's like one generation too early. And while Jessica, and it's established in the expanded universe books that she did this out of love for Leto after he lost his previous son. I think it still works fine though without that, and just saying she just really loved him and wanted him to have a son. But she also trains Paul because she just wants Paul to do great things. She wants her son to do great things. And he is, yeah, like she wants Paul to do great things, and so she trains him to do all this stuff, and it all basically works. Paul takes the water of life, becomes a male Reverend Mother, and can see miles into the future to the point where it's kind of just a cop-out plot-wise because it's essentially giving him a free win no matter what he does. Like, no matter what problem he's facing, he could just look and see like 100 million possible futures and just pick out the one where he wins and then just follow that like a blueprint and say the exact things he needs to say. Which is essentially how the rest of the novel goes, because he finesses the Fremen into making him their absolute leader, and they view him as the Messiah because the Bene Gesserit also supplanted legends into basically every indigenous people in the universe about a chosen Messiah who fit the description of this chosen one in their program. So basically, the Fremen kind of fall right into Paul's hands, and he uses them to take back the city of Arrakeen, which is where the Harkonnens were operating out of, because they just, as soon as the Atreides died, they literally took right back over. They didn't even move half their stuff off the planet because it was just that short of a time that they were gone. And so Paul organizes a lot of attacks, basically cripples the economy by just putting the spice allowed to get out in like a chokehold. And then he gets a plan to basically, he's going to take the water of life and put it on a spice mound. And that will cause like an explosive reaction, and it would essentially kill the entire next generation of sandworms. And without the sandworms, there is no spice. So it's a little more long-term than what the plan was in the movies, which I think he was just going to nuke the whole planet into oblivion, which I feel like is a good retcon for his original plan, because his original plan, one, it would have taken a long time to actually feel the effects, and then two, it's really kind of confusing. But he chooses that, and it ends up working, and he threatens that. He ends up nuking the shield wall, which is because basically Arrakeen was built on a underground plateau, if that makes any sense. There is a giant ring of rock underground surrounding Arrakeen, which basically means that sandworms can't really get in because they can't just eat through rock. He nukes that, and they end up riding the sandworms in. And that was a really cool shot from the second movie with all the sandworms just kind of laying siege. And kills basically all the Harkonnens, and then challenges the Emperor for his throne because he just wants more. Because at this point, he has more loyalty for the Fremen than he does for the rest of the Empire, because he's fully become like one of them. and the Harkonnens straight up just killed his kid. They like bombed the place where they were holding Leto, and so because he had that baby with a Fremen woman, Johnny, and so he's kind of just done with everything, and he wants to orient the galaxy around Arrakis. He wants to become the emperor and make it so that Arrakis is the economic and political center of the universe. And so he's sick of everybody. He wants to be emperor, and he wants to bring about change in Arrakis. He wants, because the Fremen have this dream of returning it to a water and desert, a water and jungle planet. And there was already plans in motion, but Paul heavily accelerated those plans in his actions. He challenges the Emperor, and the Emperor chooses a Harkonnen to be his champion in battle, Fade Routha Harkonnen. And this was, had Paul been a woman, this was who he was supposed to have a child with. But instead, they have a knife fight, which I think is way cooler. Somebody sneezed outside. And they have a knife fight. Paul wins. It's really close, but Paul wins. Unlike the movie, Chani does not run away into the desert. She is definitely wary, though, and she asks, because Paul's path to the emperor's throne was to marry his eldest daughter while being in love with Chani. So he already assured Chani that, like, hey, she's just going to be my wife in name only. You're going to be my actual, like, partner I'm with forever. Chani's displays some worries about this, and then Paul's mom, the book ends with Paul's mom just reassuring her, hey, the history books will call us the wives. Leto never married me either. And then the book kind of ends there. And then there's a whole bit with like glossaries and appendixes and just a little backstory. Think about how Comb, which is like kind of like a giant, it's basically just like, Comb is like, it like controls all the business. Because the spice is collected through a company called Comb. And then Comb works with the guild, the guild is like the biggest purchaser of the spice because their navigators need it to pilot through space. But I'll go through all that next video. I think some of it's kind of silly, but honestly, it's a super good book. I don't really have much bad to say about it.